A year which began with Swansea as the best side in Wales is ending with them as one of the worst among the group of 6. Last season they were the only Welsh club to achieve 2 victories in Scotland, but on Friday night Edinburgh gained easy revenge. The rout was started by outside half Duncan Hodge. He added a conversion and a penalty from inside his own half before Kevin Utterson was utterly determined to make his way to the try line and a 21-3 lead for the home side. Like Pontypridd and much of British rugby, Edinburgh busy buying second-hand Kiwis by the plane load. Brendan Laney and Todd Blackadder are the latest, and it was Blackadder who increased the lead. Swansea did show a brief flicker in response when they controlled this line-out. Steve Wynn, the man in the centre without a number. But no prizes for guessing it was Scott Gibbs who led the resistance. But it was soon snuffed out. Hodge added to his kicking tally, and then got off another flowing move. Andy Moore's late tackle went unpunished. Swansea were now on the receiving end of a demoralising thrashing, underlined when Patterson skated over for his second try of the game. It could become a dark winter for the All-Whites. By contrast, the Scarlets are in rosy-cheeked good health. On Friday, Llanelli and Neath proved there isn't all gloom and doom in the game by producing a Christmas cracker. Andy Moore opened the scoring, but then Llanelli took control. A stray kick by Gareth Llewellyn was meat and drink to Neil Boubier, who's rediscovered his appetite for the game. He had Lee Jarvis for breakfast on the outside and fed himself at the try line. Celesi Finau doesn't have quite that pace, but Route 1 can sometimes be just as effective. Alfie Makalatu falling victim to the Tongan torpedo. Llanelli's power through their forwards was too much for Neath in that 15-minute spell just after half-time. It soon brought a third try for Scott Quinnell on his return after time spent resting his aching knee. The game became a classic contest, Llanelli's power against Neath's cutting edge. Dave Tuetti showed the best way to go past Finau is around him. Then Barry Williams created space out wide for Lee Jarvis. And the shaven-headed and silver-booted one showed enough pace to go around Martin Madden and then had the presence of mind to make his own kick far easier. It set up a thrilling finale, but Quinnell settled it with the clever pass and the finish from Dwayne Peel. The Scarlets stayed top of the table, and Gareth Jenkins should enjoy a stress-free Christmas.
So, in the Welsh-Scottish League, Llanelli are on top. Newport and Cardiff are now all above Glasgow. They're down in 4th. And Caerphilly, they may be bottom, but they got 3 valuable points under their belt. Happy Christmas. And so, finally, to what may be the most important document ever to have been published on the state of the game in Wales. This is the report.
2 Christmas messages for Welsh rugby. The first delivered on Tuesday by 6 wise men. Cut the number of clubs to 6, or else the new year could be the last for the millionaires who currently prop up a bankrupt game. This weekend, a second message, issued by a knight in a shiny suit. Sir Tasker Watkins and his working party handed in their report, and as expected, it calls for radical change. A reduction to 8 clubs in the top division, but not 6. The working party has come out and said that they favour 8 clubs. You're part of a club that at the moment attaches itself to a group of 6 clubs. Does that put you in a difficult position?
I think that it does, yes, of course it does. I think the reorganisation didn't come out with a specific number of clubs. It said there should be perhaps less clubs. But it's all down at the end of the day to money. If we could fund 12 clubs, we would do so.
There are issues in there which, affect us all. The so-called Gang of Six have highlighted issues regarding the management of the game, and to be fair to the report, it also addresses those issues, perhaps not in exactly the same way, but it does address them, and it realises that the management of the game must change. So I'm very pleased with that.
I'm fed up with people going on about this top six. You know, at the end of the day, if they don't like putting their money in, then get out of the game. Because, you know, Welsh Rugby Union runs this game. Caerphilly is there by rights, not by being given more money.
The report also calls for Premier Division players contracted to the WRU rather than the clubs, fewer overseas players, but perhaps crucially, the replacement of the all-powerful General Committee with an 8-strong professional executive.
But it's down now to the politicians who do the politics, the coaches do the coaching, the players do the playing, you know, and I think that's the way it has to be, particularly in the next few weeks, and its sensitivities.
You can't have a committee running a business, a multi-million-pound business, possibly one of the biggest businesses in Wales. You can't have it being run by an amateur body, of which I happen to be one.
The General Committee becomes a council, which becomes an executive board. It's radical, Gwyn, but just to go back to the clubs first of all, only one goes, 8.
As Sam said there, you must understand that we started our deliberations 18 months ago, and it's been ever-changing feast in the terms of Premier Divisions up until then. It's about all the clubs in Wales, by the way, but I realise that a lot of attention is focused on the Premier Division. There's a special part of the union, of course. But what we say is that, yes, we can see that there should be a reduction in the numbers, but as we have no authority over other unions or other cross-border competitions in our particular working party, what we can only recommend is that, yes, we can see that there is a need for a reduction, but we believe that it should be a club-based Premier Division, not a regional-based Premier Division, with the top players contracted to the union, and the number will be defined by how much finance there is to finance it, what competitions they're allowed to play in, and how much indigenous Welsh talent there is, rather than having to compensate otherwise by having more teams and consequently more overseas players.
And you're not rushing it either. I mean, nothing is going to be done right here and now. Nobody's vanishing overnight.
Not with us, no. We feel that these decisions would be a profound effect on Welsh club rugby, and to discard some clubs now, they may never return, and so to make a rash and brash decision without full talking to everyone, I think would be a very dangerous move.
It's an excellent report. It's well written. It gets to the heart of all the problems in Welsh rugby, but I think the biggest thing for me is this 8-man sort of management executive board that's going to run the game. Now, this talk about the clubs is irrelevant, really, the number of clubs, because what we have to do is put that 8-man executive board in first, and then let them decide. Let the people that we put in decide what we're going to do. I mean, it's like putting the cart before the horse. If you saddle this new sort of, you know, executives, finance director, chief executive, chairman, with a structure already in place.
Did you have to be careful about the constitution of this 8-man executive? Because it might just be full of old WRU committee men.
Yeah, we've gone through how exactly you would select those people, how you would get an appointments committee, who would appoint the appointments committee. It's all in the document. What we've done in terms of the governance, which, as Mike said, is absolutely right, is the heart of this report. What we've said is that currently the game is governed by a 27-man committee, general committee, and it's they're all volunteers who give of their time freely and have governed the game for a century or more. And fair play, they've given outstanding service. But we think now that the best way to govern the game, to represent the clubs as a whole, the 239 clubs that there are in Wales, we must have the conscience of the game, the essence of rugby. It is a democracy, the Welsh Rugby Union, and we have set up a general council, and the majority in the general council will be representative of those clubs. So they are still the prime decision makers of the union. However, they only meet once every 3 months, and they set policy and strategy and review what the executive board are doing. And then the day-to-day executive management of the union will be done by an executive board, a chairman, a chief executive, and financial directors.
4 professionals.
4 professionals.
A chairman.
Correct.
And 3 from the council.
And 3 representatives of the council, one of which from the Premier clubs.
What happens to the clubs below the Premiership then?
Well, another part then, we discussed the funding of the clubs.
Yeah, the funding.
We recommend that professionalism stops under the Premier Division.
Which has to be.
Because what happened, the game went professional in '95, and it was almost like an expectation that everyone who put a boot on a Saturday got paid, whether it was a £10 or £50 or a massive contract.
Didn't you, lads?
Yes, we all did. We all did, yeah. Good. What's the chances of this getting through, though? Because, I mean, Sam Simon is very honest. I think he's all for it. That's great and everything. But do you think everybody else in Wales is going to be? Because it's critical that they are.
obviously, what may happen is that they may fraction the report into sections and vote on each bit. But
we don't want to water down. That's the problem. We can't afford.
Well, that may happen. I'm not sure what the strategy. We have there'll be a special general meeting in February where all the clubs, the 239 member clubs, will have a vote. And for a change in constitution, like we're offering here, there needs a 75% majority in that special general meeting.
Those are quite scary figures, Gwyn. 75%. And we've had chances before to act on reports. Reports have been commissioned, and they've just been
under the carpet.
not just watered down, shoved out the way.
But the difference with those is they've always been decided by the general committee. They've never gone to a special general meeting. And that is the crux of this, which Sataska did very well to make sure that it went to the clubs. The clubs have called for this reform back in '98, I think it was. They delayed it until the World Cup was organised and sorted out. And then we've done the report, and it is up to the clubs to vote on their own future. It is their union, and they will decide.
I think we might have a bit of lobbying between now and that meeting, which shall be interesting. Any quick straw poll? Any feelers?
I think there's a groundswell of opinion for change within the union. I think that people would like to see a more professional corporate body.
Hope it goes through.
Yeah. Good luck with everything, and everybody out there, have a very Merry Christmas from Scrum 5.
Right.